Thank you so much.
I think forevermore, all of us should mispronounce Harvard on purpose. Because it'll make a lot of steam come out of people's ears. They deserve it. Okay, I'm going to read a couple of poems from this book of translations, which is this really great, young, sharp Icelandic poet who is not afraid to critique anything, basically. Actually, her book on the history of pornography in Iceland just came out, which is really interesting in that kind of sailor culture. Yeah, so obviously Iceland recovered from the crash through selling its tourism, through selling nature. And this book actually was bumped up to be published sooner than it originally planned because something about American politics. It's an LA-based press, phony media. They do entirely translations with a focus on underrepresented languages. And they seem to think last year that something about current events made this feminist environmental apocalyptic great. Our economy recovered, but the world's ending. It's called storm warning. Like, it seemed relevant, so yeah. I'm glad to translate her because a lot of the people who get translated there are the opposite of her. They're let's write about the lava. It is beautiful. Nationalism is great. She's kind of the young punk who I was really lucky to be recommended by another Icelandic writer. So I'm just going to read. Oh, it's always tough because I want to introduce people to her. That's the cool thing about translation. I'm going to read just two short ones. There's books up here. First is a letter to Mr. Brown, and Mr. Brown in question is Gordon Brown, the British PM. So a lot of people in Iceland were pissed about some international bankers' reactions to their economic crash, security moves. This is an extreme succinction, which is a word now. And so they were pissed about these security moves, and there was actually a campaign, kind of an ad campaign that came through the newspapers being like, why are they putting these sanctions on us? Like, do we look like terrorists, basically? And Icelanders were very upset about the way foreign people were all of a sudden treating their interests now that the economics had shifted. And Kristen was one of the few critiquing the Icelandic milieu. So it's called Another Letter to Mr. Brown. Did you never receive my letter, Mr. Brown? It was sky blue and sparkly, and I doused it with perfume from a tester. Mr. Brown, I am just a girl, standing in front of a boy, asking him to love her. Do I look like a terrorist? I should mention that was the refrain, was do we look like terrorists? I am a totally different person with wine. A different person with wine. I am more of a person, a stronger, bigger person with wine. Greed and megalomania, envy and malice are not really characteristic of me. Pride, deceit, duplicity, selfishness, no. A heavy weight has been lifted. Now I can finally show my true colors. Now I can finally show my tender, peaceful, cheerful colors. Sometimes my eyes are so blue, they scare me in the mirror. Do I look like a terrorist? You are the man, Mr. Brown. I'm a mere victim of these circumstances, these difficult circumstances. A public servant in an evil state. I have a very mature view of civil society, and I say, is no one thinking of the children? Animals in the wild, fierce lions and raging bears, do not neglect their young. You, Mr. Brown, are something else. Do not let the children inhale tobacco smoke. Do not let them inhale an oppressive atmosphere. Do they look like terrorists? I have a very mature view of civil society, and I am afraid we must often amputate at the shoulder. Do not let children inhale tobacco smoke. Do not let them sit beside such sketchy characters. Mr. Brown, I have sent you a letter. I have shown complete willingness to cooperate. You have repeatedly failed. You have shown me diminishing returns. You do not get another chance, Mr. Brown. One could choose to regard this as a personal insult. The next letter will not sparkle. No glitter, Mr. Brown. I do not look like a terrorist. It's a lot more fun when you hear it in her accent. She reads it in English. never know how to gauge these things because I get so excited. So being positive. Sorry, this is a bilingual edition too, so it's sorry, it's a short one. Being positive. Go mountains. Go clouds. Go moss.
Will you read the Icelandic one?
Sure. It actually might sound familiar because the go, so Iceland made the World Cup last year, and Al from Iceland was the sort of let's go Iceland chat. So jakræðing, which is yes saying, just being, well, technically it's optimistic, but the tone is wrong, so being positive is more how it is. Áfram fjól, áfram skí, áfram mosti. I'm going to read another one, forgetting the crowd. Passé number 3. Romantic poem about capitalists of the past. Oh, so the great thing about Iceland is it's so tiny, everybody knows all the concept. So this refers to some diamond dust, and there actually was an artist who everybody in Reykjavik knew was being funded by this duchess from Austria who was a diamond heiress. And there were a lot of opinions about the art that the diamond funds were happening. Romantic poem about capitalists of the past. And Thingvellir is also mentioned as the Icelandic, the original parliament, which is a national park. It's about 45 minutes outside of Reykjavik. Artistically inclined speculators broker the products of authors. Countesses spoon-feed performance artists with diamond dust. But where are the drunk wholesalers supporting us even more drunk poets for company and cultural capital? Absent wholesaler, I would be satisfied with a custom suit, a drive to Thingvellir and sips of scotch that I roll in my mouth, considering the limits of my artistic integrity. So she's amazing. I can talk about her all day. And actually, the book also has a conversation between us in the back, which I hope more translations continue to do. Yeah, I'm going to read some other poems from this book that's coming out. And I really appreciate Daniel and Jason, all the Daniels, for helping me decide what to read today.
You have a title, it wasn't
Well,
a surprise. It may change. Oh,
yeah.
I heard.
I know what the title is. I
Well,
haven't
that's-
got my stamp of
and
approval.
it's maybe different than the one I.
It is, yeah. So this is very new. After the Supreme Court stuff in the States, I lived there for a long time, so I'm extra affected by it, but we all are, so. Comme des garçons. I hate when people explain poems, but that's a fashion label. People are aware of the Comme des garçons, but yeah, it is, it doesn't matter. For my 18th birthday, my parents gave me a yellow plastic whistle and a Roads of Alberta book of maps. Last night, walking through Toronto with headphones in and bare legs in the dark, how often I've done similarly stupid things. Day look at night, no keys spiked between my fingers, visibly vulnerable but compensating with eyes. Walking fast because it feels good and velocity involves direction. You have to look like you know where you're going when scared. How much of this is the rather juvenile refusal to admit that I'm scared often? That the world is not for me to walk through? That I wouldn't want my friends to walk this way, but I let them think I took transit or a car. Music is essential to these stretches. Prince cuts through college boys, Frank Ocean through Bed-Stuy, teeth rattling under the train, the bridge above me. Flying over the sidewalk, hips churning, city grid come VR game. Not for the first time, I think if someone were raped tonight, better me than them. As if there's a quota. Surely I process it easier than average, so why not take one for the team? The drunk black man drops his shoulders as soon as he turns the corner, assuming my fear as we half smile, each trying to disarm the other. I'd bawl if I weren't so spoiled, but I'm busy picturing myself in the hospital like Amelia imagined her funeral. I'd wear that paper gown. It wouldn't wear me. They don't know who they got, I think, smug even now. The victory being that they wouldn't take anything from me or the team. They'd give. More masks for the black hole, the heart with two eyes. Last spring, I bought a whistle in a vintage shop on what happened to be International Women's Day. Wore it to a book fair, a small press whale prom in Florida, a hotel bar holding court sans referee. Tonight I skipped a poetry reading to stay in, write this, and learn ASL for green, yellow, and red. The Supreme Court has no safe word, so I might as well play in traffic. My whistle is brass now. I've come to terms with femininity, called a few shots. My soundtrack says it's mask for mask I'm after tonight, soaking up these boyish croons. They sell distressed yet relaxed style, agendered perfume by the Flatiron Building. I've never starched a shirt, not sure I press charges. Restorative justice assumes a starting point, but I want less names, more action words. French was last century. What's next? What does it mean to pop life? Rape culture is an imperative form, ready to wear. That one has gems if you really know Prince lyrics really well. There's a whole bunch in there, because I'm a nerd. This is something that popped out basically whole when I was living in the States and yet another shooting happened and all the guns. Where even the outrage feels familiar. And I'm going to dedicate it to Jill because she likes the title. And all people who are not part of the literary scene who still come to poetry. Reverse Cowgirl. I can't promise not to laugh, but yes, sir, I'll jump your gun. I'll ride that handlebar all the livelong day, all the way home, crying wolf and foul and love me tender. As long as the holster's real, soft enough to warrant this fuss, hard enough to crack. Then give me something meaty for the rain course, a fresh hand, dealer's choice for this flop, turn, and river. Of course you cut the cards. We can't afford to cheat at this not-so-blind bluff. You think I could stack the deck against you? Oh, babe, ante up. You can't let me get away with this. Playing dumb and winning. So here's a rig. I'm from rural Alberta. This is another very new one that includes an Urban Dictionary definition, so I might be a little flight attendant and go with parts that I didn't write. Straight from Urban Dictionary last year and a half ago. It's called Urban Dictionary, and it's for a friend of mine named Jessie. I learned what an Alberta snowstorm is in a Williamsburg cafe called The West, named after May, a Brooklynite. Hamstring stuck to a pseudo-industrial bar stool. High summer in the city, garbage juice running in the gutters. If Felicity is a name, Complicity Porter lives here. She got real into fermenting last year. An orgy involving one woman, generally middle-aged, and at least 5 guys. The orgy begins when the men stand in a circle around the woman who is kneeling on the ground. They proceed to circle jerk, ejaculating simultaneously on her head so that she is covered in the snow. They then proceed to gangbang the woman, pausing first to tweak on some crystal meth. Originated in Fort McMurray, Alberta, where due to the oil sands there is a largely transient population of male workers, aka pigs, and relatively few females. End quote. The rig pig I know best is the smartest person I've ever known. The male teachers who labeled him a problem kid were my creepy in hindsight cheerleaders. Best for bright girls to steer clear of that kind of boy. Unrescued from boredom, he became a troubled teen, a walking DUI who intimidated the calculus teacher and then went north to work. We meet in town for coffee at Christmas, and he makes my sister laugh by ordering a Starbucks drink with every possible modification. That takes a long time. We discuss the news. Quiznos is open again. During the boom, it closed for lack of team labor. Even on a downturn, there's always money for a guy who can do math. For tats, girls, vehicles, drugs. I wonder what else he could have done, whether wondering makes me an asshole. He can't enter the States because of possession charges, but I text him and he responds with a redneck meme, cologne for gas cans, WD-40. Come on up and see me sometime. He dies weeks later of undetermined causes, which I think means fentanyl. I walk to the train. L for the Lorimer stop, for self-loathing, for the boy I live with month to month. Latent, this lease on life. Past the newest condo, whose wall is spray painted with hot pink caps. Fuck, marry, kill. But vertical. Hop the puddle of piss between the cop car and the stairs to the station. Come on up, I'll tell your fortune. Which actually, the main was that coming up and see me sometime is a misquote. That's a 1933 movie, but she doesn't know. But she does also say, come on up and tell your fortune. Wait, I got two more? I don't know what my time is like. One more? Cut home or a nipple clamp? It's hard to tell. Yeah.
Fat, too fat.
Yeah. The nipple clamp one isn't fast.
It's so good.
It's okay. This poem I'm just reading because if you're gonna be a nerd, you might as well be a cunty nerd. I'm gonna reclaim the word a little bit. It's called Mojo Rising, and some lines are clearly taken from Jim Morrison. Mojo Rising. What happens to the cunt when the stomach corrodes through a night spent cramped in fetal position? It becomes a will, equipped with its own rhetorical questions. If I bleed this fever all the way out, do I get time to myself? If I am in fact a lucky little lady in a city of light, are moth wings less of a death threat, folded in two? Heaven forbid my mercury gives me away, that mangy meniscus, because I can't forbid anything. I barely regulate my body temperature. What do I know? I just got into town about an hour ago. Thank you. Thanks for having me.